I took her to the vet and I said, well, this is not my dog.
Yeah, it's not right.
Something's going on here.
I'm afraid she ate something.
Well, that's
Rock,
what we
here you
thought.
go. 6 o'clock.
That's a good thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission for Monday, April 18th. Just going down our agenda, we have an established quorum, and I am looking for a motion to approve minutes for April 4th, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve minutes for April 4th, 2022.
Okay, we've got a motion by Billy, second.
Second.
Second by Travis, all in favor?
All right.
Hi.
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion passes. Recognizing persons not on the agenda? Seeing none. Commission, we're gonna, nope, actually, first of all, is Miss Jessica Schick here? Nope. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna take this one and move it to the end of our public hearing and action, just to give her time to show if she does, and then if not, we'll just discuss that at the end. Commission, you good with that?
Yes.
Do we need to make a motion?
Okay. No, we're just going to move it on the agenda. All right, so that means we're going to move to our second item here, which is an action item, a conditional use permit for storage facility. The applicant of Amanda, I'm sorry if I make this bad,
Wine.
thank you, Miller. That's why I have you next to me. Of United Metals, I apologize. A request by the United Metals in care of Amanda Miller and a conditional use permit to allow for the development of storage facility, in particular RV storage, an open lot located at 1145 Airbase Road. The proposed facility will consist of an office, 6 fully enclosed storage facilities ranging in size from 10 by 10 to 14 by 45. In addition, there will be a 54 14 by 40 RV spaces with canopies, centrally located with pull-through access. The southerly portion of the 5-acre will be designated for excess storage and open for large equipment storage. The proposed project will also contain security fencing, security gates, as well as an RV dump station. Mr. Cherry.
Mr. Chair, you did a good job giving my summary. So we are all familiar with this item. It did come before this body once with a annexation application as well. The annexation application was recommended to go forward by this body, and it has passed City Council. However, the thing that we had lagging behind was the conditional use permit for the actual storage use. One thing that this body looked at previously when looking at this item was the environmental status of that property. We do know that metal products were stored there at one time, and that there could be some sort of contaminant which would not be conducive towards the health and welfare of our good city. So what had happened is the applicant, I believe, has fulfilled both a phase 1 and a phase 2 environmental study. I believe the results of the phase 2 are all within your staff report. And other than that, I don't have any new information at this time. Nothing substantially has changed from the last hearing we had as far as the size, type of storage, and I believe that the applicant is here prepared to speak to that environmental study to this body. So with that, I don't have any more comments, and I would just yield my time over to the applicant.
Okay. Miss Amanda, how are you?
Hi, great. So I'm not Miss Y. Miller. I'm Stephanie Hopkins with KM Engineering. Our address is 5725 North Discovery Way in Boise, 83713. Amanda filed the application while I was out of the office. So,
You're welcome.
You all did a really great job summarizing our request, so I probably won't go into too much detail. We recently were rezoned to the C4 district to allow for the CUP use. And as mentioned, we're proposing to develop 5 acres of the site and entitle the whole property, which is 7.73 acres, for a conditional use permit for the storage facility, which is comprised of RV spaces as well as enclosed storage spaces. We are working with the city on extension of services to the site, so that'll be, I think the Meadows Manufactured Home Park to the east is also working on extending services, so we'll be dragging it from where they leave it to the edge of our property as part of the annexation. Let's see. I think you covered the number of spaces that were storage facilities that we're asking for. The 93 enclosed spaces will be within 6 buildings. We are proposing a variety of storage spaces too, as far as size, to allow for a lot of different options for folks. The RV storage will be kind of in the center so that folks can pull through easily, and the site will have nice circulation that way. As Brock mentioned, we did do a phase 1 and a phase 2 environmental study assessment on the property, both of which found no contaminants or reasons for concern. So I do have that whole study here if we want to talk about it, but it's a little bit more robust than I'm used to reading on that kind of stuff. So I think with that, we think that this will be a really great project for the City of Mountain Home. We're excited to get started on it, and our client is also here, the property owner, and he can answer any questions if you guys would like.
Okay. Before we do that, I think I will open it up to the public hearing for any public input. So I'll have you step back for me.
Sure.
And with that, I will open it up. If anybody's from the public, please come forward. Yep. Please make sure you state your name and address as well.
You had me sign in for a reason. My name is Misty Pierce. I live in the Donna subdivision. I'm hard of hearing, so I could not hear, so I just have some questions. I remember the last time the applicant, and I couldn't hear her very well because her back's to me. I remember the last time the applicant was here, Mark, I don't know how to pronounce the last name. Sauerwald did express concern on doing an environmental study to make sure there was no contaminants. I was just wondering if that was done, because I could not hear, like I said. And then if this was going to be a residential for people to actually physically stay in their RVs, when did the city ordinance change to residents have to have more than one access in and out of the area? Because it used to be 3 per subdivision. I know this is not a subdivision, but it is living arrangement, quarters, a small park. I was just curious when that ordinance changed and if they were going to have 2 accesses in there. And that's all
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Misty, just so you know, to answer your first question, the environmental study was done and none of the detected analytes were found to concentration that exceeded state of Idaho soil cleanup levels. So yes, it was completed and there was
Thank you very
nothing
much.
there.
I couldn't hear. Oh.
Okay. That second question we will definitely make sure that we get an answer to.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing on that then. If you want to come back up, commission questions, comments, concerns. So there was the question of, is this a live-in or is this just a RV facility storage?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. This is just an RV storage facility, so no one will be living in these. No one will be living in the RVs. It's just for storage. I heard that. Yeah, sorry.
I know. Audio is odd in this place. Yes. Good. All right, commission questions.
Chair, I have a couple questions. So, there's a line here that from I guess the phase 1 that I'm not considered to concern me, but I'm not sure I understood it either. It said, should be noted that the groundwater sampling was not deemed practical for or as groundwater on the subject property is likely to be 400 feet or more below ground. However, according to the site contract, a water well located on the subject property is a shallow well. They have been advised not to consume the water as well. Well, this is a multiple part question, sorry. So my first is, I know you guys plan on doing like a sewage dump type for a camp. Do you guys plan on tapping into this water?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Eichnes, no, we'll be hooking into city services,
Okay.
so we'll have city water.
Okay, and it says that it was advised. Do we know who gave that advice?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Eichnes, I'm not sure, so I only brought the phase 2, I don't have the phase 1 to refer to, but my guess is that they were probably taking that advice from either someone in their own firm, or I don't know if someone at the city was consulted with this study or not, but.
Okay, it was just kind of vague, and I was concerned with the idea that you couldn't consume the water. And I get we're tapping into the city water. Is there any possibility of it leaching into a pipe, or I'm not 100% in how that works?
Rich?
The Chairman, Commissioners, it should, I mean, they're using pipe, it's not going to leak into them. That's what
Okay.
you mean, I mean,
That is what I'm asking, yes. Okay, all right, that's all I have.
Follow-up question on that. So, follow up on his, this is not deemed practical groundwater on the subject property. So if it's not deemed for groundwater, I mean, you can't use for irrigation. Shouldn't the well be capped then? Unless I'm reading into this.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Commissioner Roeder, so the applicant has not proposed to use that for any sort of irrigation purposes. Whether or not the well should be capped, you could potentially make that part of your decision. However, I don't believe it's necessary as far as all of their centralized services, from sewer to water, has to be with the city. Let's say that they wanted to use that water for irrigation and grow really big flowers or something like that. They would actually need to make that part of their request to this body, and they have not.
So, Mr. Chair, so if they build it, it's there on site, if someone uses it and it leaches into the groundwater, that's, if it's still available, it could still be used now. Even though it's not in the writing or the plan or anything, but it's still available for use. So 5 years down the road, that once this is built out, it's still available for use, and it could be a contaminant.
And we would have to ask the applicant for more details. I'm not sure how it looks right now. In my mind, I'm not sure if there's a spigot there, and they're going to put a sign saying "Do not use." I don't know.
But, yeah, and the only reason that I guess I'm pressing the issue a little bit, because this is not deemed practical for groundwater on the subject property, which means it's contaminated of some sort, whatever that means. So to me, it would be deemed practical to cap it, or it's still going to be available.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I might speak too, if you don't mind. So I think our applicant, or the applicant, our client is not interested in using the well. And I don't know what it would take to decommission a well or what that process is, but I think they might be comfortable adding a condition to the conditional use permit to cease use of it, if that would make you more comfortable.
It would, yes ma'am, it would, just because the verbiage where it said not deemed practical for groundwater. So I don't know what.
My understanding is the practicality is testing it. Groundwater sampling was not deemed practical, as groundwater on the subject property is likely to be 400 feet or more below ground level. They didn't test it,
But then it's.
so we don't know if it's,
But it says that they've been advised not to consume. That's the concerning part.
On this last part.
mm-hmm.
Rich?
Commissioners, I think one thing too, I mean, we do have a lot of shallow wells that are in the city. You know, we don't have, you know, especially this part of town, you know, that's one thing, we don't have people do that. But I mean, I for the most part, I mean, when I was growing up, we had one on our, I lived right over there, so growing up, we had a shallow well that we used for irrigation stuff, but we never drank it. I mean, it's just one of those that we knew that you don't know, it's a shallow well. You don't know what's in those. So I think that's the biggest piece. We don't have anything that says that people that have wells have to test them.
Right.
They're not going into our system, so that's or into the.
I know your concern is about the safety of the water inside of that well, but seeing as how they're hooking up to
Yeah.
city.
No, that's the only thing I know.
Yeah, please, Chairman. So I have another question about the entrance here. This is this section here that shows how the PUD and how it's laid out, the blueprint, if you will. How long is this entrance here? So my concern is someone pulling in and waiting for the person in front of them for the gate to open, and then you have 5 or 6 RVs or, you know, campers, toy haulers, whatever you want, backed up on the street.
Sure. Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I guess, I believe it's about 90 feet back. We've actually gone through a couple
I'm sorry, how much?
90 feet
90
back
feet.
from the apron starts about 90 feet from the edge of pavement along Air Base Road to the gate. And we've actually gone through a couple iterations, and our client has actually lengthened that area up to make sure there's enough room for.
So 90 feet is the aim though, right? 90 feet is the aim from the front of the gate to the curb side?
Yep, correct.
So approximately 3 campers, give or take, maybe more. Okay. That was it for me, Chairman.
Nancy?
I'm good.
Okay, looking for a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion. Motion to request a conditional use permit to allow recreation vehicle storage lot located on the property at 1145 Air Base Road. Subject to site plans and amendments as required by Public Works, Fire, and zoning officials to comply with city codes and standards. All future developments will comply with the uses and bulk coverage control of C4 zoning district and Idaho transportation right-of-way approval for proposed use of recreation or facility operation.
Okay, I have a first, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Nancy. Travis?
Aye.
Billy? Nancy?
Aye.
And I as well. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just moving down our list here, we have an application for an R4 planned unit development from Leap Housing, a request for Leap Housing for an R4 planned unit development. The parcels of land are located east of South Fifth West Street and approximately 279 feet south of West 12 South Street. Words are hard. The proposed Falcons Landing planned unit development will provide 136 units consisting of 120 multifamily units and 16 single-family attached units. Amenities will include a central community building, barbecue picnic area, playground, sport court, community garden, bike station, and walking path. The plat contains 22 lots consisting of a total of 8.39 acres. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, so what we have before you is to rezone to a R4 PUD. Right now, the property is annexed and it is within the corporate boundaries of Mountain Home as a R4 piece of land. As you have mentioned, the piece of property is 8.39 acres. The intent behind this application is to allow for the future development of a mixed residential community. What ultimately this is intended to consist of is a total of 136 new dwelling units. From your multifamily units, we have 60 of those, 48 which are intended to be for households that earn within a certain range, and then 12 to be at market rate. And then further phases, you're going to have single-family homes which are attached to one another, so similar to a duplex, which will be for purchase products as well. And then you have another phase of that other single-family product, and then to end, hopefully another 60 multifamily type units. I will leave this to the applicant, but I believe they have received their federal credits for the 60 units, which are part of their first phase, which is going to be part of the next application, which is for their preliminary plat. As you mentioned, there are a variety of different amenities, much more than what is called out for any sort of multifamily design standard that the city has on file. However, being a PUD, they are asking for some minor deviations when it comes to building setbacks, and probably the biggest one is a height maximum. For the R4 district, it is 30 feet. They are asking for the opportunity to go up to 35 feet. So not a huge deviation, but given the type of multifamily products that they want to provide, being that they're larger in overall scale, staff doesn't find it out of the ordinary to want that sort of height. What's important as we look at this PUD is to look at the surrounding area. So I can rotate this so you don't get a kink in your neck. So right here we have the subject property. We have West 12th South, and then we have South 5th West. We've been seeing a lot of work happening in this area. We have the Paiute Place fourplexes, which is directly to the south. We have Silverstone North, which is directly to the south. And all of these products have a higher density multifamily type product. Fourplexes, what have you. That's a common theme that we are seeing. The comprehensive plan speaks about when you have these higher impact residential type products that generally you want them to be off of a collector or arterial roadway. which is exactly what South Fifth West is. So as far as them being placed to a location where they are more harmonious than if they were placed elsewhere, I believe that the properties are ideal. You don't have necessarily single-family neighborhoods directly right near these types of developments, and sometimes there are those concerns. So I would say that as far as finding land for this type of use, that this land is ideal, and that the spot where they are choosing to develop this type of product definitely suits the area, and also other uses which have been recommended for approval by this body, which are in close vicinity. When it comes to a planned unit development, it's in your staff report. There are multiple things that you're looking at, and is it harmonious? Is it going to cause any detriment around surrounding properties? Does it promote creative land use? Those are really the standards that you need to look at for comprehensive plan compliance. I've provided different sections of our comprehensive plan, which I believe speak to this specific situation, which is also within your staff report, and we can converse more about that if needed. Other than that, I don't have anything else. I know that the applicant is here and they have a pretty detailed presentation that they are prepared to give this body. And then afterwards, we can go wherever you want us to go, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Gavin, come on.
Do you want me to sit or stand? Do you care?
Be comfortable.
Okay.
Absolutely. Have a seat.
Since maybe she was having a little trouble hearing, do you want me to? Do you want
Sure,
me to face-
absolutely. You can actually take this corner chair right here if you like.
If I face this way, can you hear me a little bit better, you think?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brock. And good evening, Planning and Zoning Commission. Yeah, thanks for having us. My name is Bart Cochran. I'm the CEO of the organization called Leap Housing. So we're thankful for your consideration of PUD application PZ 2237 and then later preliminary plat application PZ 2239, what we call Falcons Landing. We believe this to be an exciting project, delivering much needed housing to the community. My goal with these slides is not to repeat everything that Brock just said, but just to sort of supplement a little bit. So we'll walk through. So just a little bit about our organization. So LEAP is an Idaho-based nonprofit organization focused on decreasing the workforce and affordable housing deficit through the creation of innovative homeownership and rental communities. So LEAP works as one with the community to provide essentially leveraging partnerships to build strong and healthy communities. It's the core of what the work that we do. I've brought with me our development team. In case you saw, there's quite a few people in the audience. Our development team's here with us to be able to stand for questions, should you have any about this project. But Lori Benfit is with us, our housing director, Johnny O'Donnell, our development analyst, Mary Overstreet, our design and asset manager, and then Douglas Peterson, our senior development consultant, is with us as well. So one of the things we do when we look at a project is we really need to understand the data that supports what the felt need is in the community. People feel there's a tension or a pressure on housing need, and so we ask, well, what's the data that underlies it and supports it? So there's 3 data points. I mean, we could go on and on. There's lots of data that supports housing need, but there's 3 points I just wanted to share. The first is vacancy. So the big 0 at the top reflects vacancy. So this shows available housing in the community. Specifically, we're talking about rental housing in this instance here. But our market study reported that all income-restricted projects in Mountain Home are fully occupied and have active waiting lists. And then we just did a quick search just to say, well, what's the market look like? And this is a Zillow search for any rental housing in Mountain Home right at this very moment. And this is what comes up. There's only 3 active listings available for rent, and the least expensive is $1,500. So what it tells us is effectively that's a 0% vacancy rate. There's no available inventory. The second is the average sale price for Elmore County. Many of you know it's gone up by 27.2% in the last year to a total of $315,500. Based on AMI, that's out of reach for many households in the community. And then the last one is we ran median income, the median income increase versus the median home sale increase. So over the past 2 years, median income has increased by 8%, while homes have increased by 88%. That tells us that home prices are increasing at 10 times the rate of wages. This is by far the highest factor that we've seen in Idaho so far. So by way of comparison, we ran the same numbers for Boise, and the number is just 4 times the rate of wages. So basically, what are we doing about it, I guess? So our approach is to create housing that lines up with local incomes. So this slide provides a sample of local jobs. These are just job listings that we pulled throughout the community, all of which would struggle to find housing today in this housing market and in this community. Falcons Landing brings these two things together by offering housing that is in line with local incomes, such as a Marathon Cheese line worker, a school teacher, or a Mountain Home Air Force Base tool and parts attendant. So these are just samples. The list goes on and on. I'm sure you can point to lots of other examples. But all of these, this project would line up the housing costs with the incomes that are being earned here. So a little bit about the project itself. So just dive in. Obviously, Brock did a good job of describing the site, but South 5th West, near the intersection of West 12th South. It's an 8.39 acre infill site. We've asked for a little bit of a height variance, up to 35 feet over the 30-foot max on both phases 1 and phase 4 of the project. So not the entire site will be at that level. This is so that we can add a 3rd story and some architectural interest to the project. So we're thinking about how we can be a good long-term owner and build something that people can be proud of. The project will take advantage of a great infill site and a great location. It will offer both mixed income and also mixed use. So mixed income meaning there'll be market rate and affordable units, and also there'll be rental and also home ownership. So the true sense of the word. LEAP will operate the housing community, and on-site management will be in place and will maintain long-term ownership of the project. So additionally, we'll also provide quality amenities, which Brock went through, and then resident services will also be provided. So you see the site. Just a super quick tour here. The site accommodates 136 units. We've plugged into the, I think you can see my cursor on there? No, you can't. You can see the South 5th West fronts you can see the bike pathway, the new system. I think it just goes from for the most part, it's just the length of or width of the property there, but if I push that, it'll, you can see the bike pathway will connect here, so connect to your system. We've also created some other internal pathway systems here. Essentially the circulation works that you come in off South 5th West, and then it circles in a loop around amenities. So the anchor is the center. This is the community space here. It's a community room, a community building. And then basically the central core of the property is all the amenity space. So on this project specifically, I think I've got the data on a different slide, but open space is ranked at 35.2% of the site is considered open space, about 2.95 of the acres. So we've got, these are little park areas here. These are open grassy spaces throughout. And then back here is a little sport court, if you can see that way at the tail end. And then trying to keep as much circulation as possible. So the project begins here, phase 1. So we're building the 60 units in this phase 1 near the rear, so we can bring the infrastructure in first. And then the 2nd and the 3rd phases will, the home ownership project is back here. The first one, phase 2, is all the way at the rear, and then we'll go to the front for phase 3 here. Those will all be home ownership projects, and then the final phase will be one more multifamily phase here at the end. And that's, sorry, I should say 60 units in the first phase. This is, the phase 2 is 8 units. That's 8 units in phase 3, and then that's another 60 units in phase 4. So the total of 136. So just a little bit about the project in terms of its community impact. I think the obvious thing here is that it's increasing housing supply, which is needed in the community. That's the reason why we were invited to come into the community and begin talking about a project like this. We believe it's consistent with the R4 zone. We don't believe there's any negative effects on nearby properties. We believe we've designed and created a buffering to create any buffering around the perimeters of the project for any of the single-family homes nearby, and that there's connectivity to the city's bike and walking paths along South 5th West. We've provided an abundance of community amenities. We're providing ample parking, 2 spaces per unit as the code asks, and that we've generated at the same time created enough open space to really have the site really feel like a planned community. And then, of course, the comprehensive plan, we pay close attention to, we look at those as the rules of engagement. What is the city trying to accomplish? And so housing is, of course, among the top 5 issues in the comprehensive plan. The Falcons Landing project meets many of those stated goals, as you can imagine, but just highlighting here mixed housing types and connectivity, increase entry-level home ownership, promote the development of higher density housing, and finally promote communities with a range of housing options. All of which I believe we accomplished with this project. And then lastly, these projects just simply don't get done without community support. When we're matching local incomes with local housing costs, it requires really the community to pitch in to make it happen. So we're thankful for so many people who have reached out to provide letters of support for our application. And then we're especially grateful to Blue Cross of Idaho, the Boise Regional Realtors, and St. Luke's for financially investing in this project to help us be able to deliver housing at an affordable price. So with that, I just want to thank you for your time and, of course, ask for your approval without hesitation for the Falcons Landing project. So I will stand for questions, and our team as well.
Thank you. Okay, so let's begin. Commission, this is only for the rezone with the PUD. This is not preliminary plat at this time. So before we go any further, let's go ahead and open up to public hearing. So anybody who would like to come and speak to, please come forward.
I just had some questions real quick. Misty Pierce again. So I did ask on the last one about residential city ordinances. It used to be 3 entrances required for a subdivision to go in. This looks like a pretty large subdivision. I'm not against it. I think it's a phenomenal idea. We need something like this. We really do. But I was just curious about the entranceways for law enforcement reasons, emergency service reasons. If there's somebody that needs to get to the back and they can't get through to the front in time to circle around, is that going to impede the services that are needed? And then I'm just curious with the growth that you guys are approving and forwarding over and City Council is approving. Are we justifying our growth with jobs? We're starting to become a bedroom community. We need to find commercial and industrial to keep our people who are moving here, and so the money is spent in Mountain Home, Elmore County area instead of going to Boise. And I'll be honest with you, I shop in Boise and Twin Falls a lot more than I do Mountain Home because there's nothing here. And that's something that I think that Mr. Cherry should be, I know he works on it, but be more out there and getting more jobs brought in here so we aren't sending our every resident to Boise or outside of Mountain Home. And then Daniel Brennan did express at the last City Council meeting that the approved housing rates are really up. They're getting close to the cap that is allowed within the 10-year growth plan. If we exceed that growth, we're going to have more houses than we are going to have money coming in, and it's going to end up being failed subdivisions. So those are just some concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Missy.
I do like the idea.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Eddie Wilson at 1450 Northeast Quigley. I had an opportunity to talk to Bart many months ago about this subdivision, and just by chance I was here tonight, and I'm super excited about it back then, and I'm still excited about it now. I know he's asked you for a couple things like 35 feet. Why are we going 35 feet? Cost. It costs 25 or 30% less to go up as opposed to go out. And if we want to make attainable housing, we need to make some sort of accommodations like that. So I highly support, you guys going with saving some cost right there for the future residents to come in. I love what they're doing here, how they're coming in, and they're really trying to drive the price of housing down so it's attainable again. He said 8% for the median income and 88%. Small correction, that's 11 times more than 10 times more. It's insane. I've come in here before talking about attainable housing, how we need to get it into here, and this is a great way to get these units in. I know that the project is going to be, well managed and taken care of, and we're going to put in, a small dent into the housing problem. As you saw, 0% vacancy, $315,000 for a house, $1,500 for a 720 square foot house. Oh my goodness, it's insane. You guys know it. So I'm just here to support Leap Charities and building this development here, and I'm just glad that you guys are going to support it and recommend it to City Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Mountain Home Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Cameron Kinzer. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the Boise Regional Realtors, and I come before you tonight on behalf of Boise Regional Realtors, also known as BRR, and our realtor members in Elmore County to strongly support the planned unit development and preliminary plat for Falcons Landing. It asks that the Commission approve the request to build 120 multifamily and 16 single-family homes. Leap Housing is doing exceptional work in the space of affordable housing, which is one of the greatest needs in Mountain Home and our communities throughout the Treasure Valley. BRR is a member-driven local nonprofit realtors association serving members in Ada, Gem, and Elmore counties. We've been working with and supporting Leap Charities over the past year, as they're one of the only organizations in the area that are providing this level of affordable housing. This project will add much needed affordable market rate housing to Mountain Home residents. Our belief in Leap and their mission to provide affordable housing is best reflected in our recent financial commitment to them, as we will be donating $350,000 to their projects over the next 5 years. The housing options in Falcons Landing will provide ownership and rental opportunities that will be available to Mountain Home residents that match local wages. The amenities at Falcons Landing include bikeway connectivity, outdoor spaces for recreation, community room, and ample parking. By approving this project, the Commission can show it recognizes and cares about the need for affordable housing options in Mountain Home. We cannot let this opportunity to provide affordable units to Mountain Home residents pass us by. Please vote to approve this project. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thanks, Cameron. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing on that. Commission.
Misty had talked about jobs and opportunity and employment here and that, and for years, I've looked at that in Mountain Home, and it's like a catch-22. Because if you don't have the housing for people to live in, then you can't get industry or anybody here to work because there's no place for their employees to live. So to get industry here, they come. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Is a catch-22. It's a difficult problem.
Sharon? UDs, how many do we have left? Utility spots.
According to my count, about 44.
Yeah, that's my concern.
After
I
this.
just want to make sure that this is on record. After.
Here, we'll direct that towards our public works director, Richard Akiti.
Oh, sorry, I was reading something.
No,
Yes.
you're good. No,
Total number of EDUs left after this development. So according to my count that I've been keeping track of, after this, we're about 44.
Yeah, I've got 42.
About what, 44?
44, about after this. And new well being drilled, wow. Words are so hard tonight.
The well will be drilled this summer, and I mean, hopefully it's going to be in for October 24. So
Okay.
that's what
Okay,
we're
Well, no.
trying to be able to do those.
right. Okay.
So in essence, we're gonna be in standstill.
Is that how that works? We would be at a standstill until that's completed, or?
so I can speak to that. So, what makes EDUs difficult to project is these are projects that will not build everything at once. Not that they don't want to, but with the availability of construction materials, labor, all of that, it's not like we're going to see them all disappear and then they're gone. So, the concern, completely valid. But really, the other figure that I would want this body to pay attention to, and you get the data, I believe, within all of your packets, is how many single-family residential building permits are we processing every month. Because yes, we are approving a lot. I'm with you that we really don't want to sign a check that we can't necessarily cash. But the problem is we have this bank, and not everyone is coming for withdrawals at a regular or even sort of basis where we can forecast that, okay, this is when we're going to run out, this is where we're going to run out, this is where we're going to run out. So it's an excellent thing that you're looking at, but the next best thing after looking at that is really how many building permits are being completed and how fast are those EDUs being used. Because we can say that these EDUs are spoken for, or that we have entitlements for X amount of EDUs, but the EDU isn't really spoken for until the actual building permit is processed. That's when it's gone. And I can tell you that's not a situation we want to be in. I know Brenda doesn't want to be right across from the counter and say, oh, we don't have any more EDUs for you. So the entitlements, the years of zoning process that you went through has to stall. So that's my way of answering your question, but not kind of answering it, but showing you that it's complicated in the way that we project. It's not as simple as being, we've entitled this amount, no more. We're not going to accept any more permits. There's other variables that we would have to work into.
If it's all right. So essentially, we're going to be waiting on development in order to catch up with well water, essentially drilling. You're waiting for development to come over the next 5 years, 10 years, and by that time we'll have more in the bank in order to be able to, I guess, hand out, if you will, or be able to submit over time. Am I kind of getting what you're...
One thing we have been seeing is, let's take another project, Turner House Depot. We approved it over a year ago. We're finally approving their final plat. We're finally getting to the point where they're actually going to be able to pull building permits. And it's taken all of that time because of the lack of material, labor, lack of professionals. There's no surveyors, there's no engineers, there's no transport. It is an insanely difficult time to project, and my professional recommendation will be to always be better safe than sorry. But when you're being better safe than sorry, try to incorporate those other variables as well. So it's not as simple as being, we have this many entitled, now we can't do any more. We should also heavily look at the amount of building permits being pulled on a monthly basis and paying just as much attention to that figure that you are this one.
But on the flip side, if I understand it right, but if we have, say tomorrow that the price is phenomenal, everything goes down, and we start pulling permits like that, then that's where we're going to be in catch-22, that it's going to take 2.5 years to get another well online. We got this project, all pulling at the same time, given if the material supply and all that stuff, we can one hand, we got to project, on the other hand, we can be in a, and play devil advocate here.
Chairman, Commissioner, so one thing, when they ask for availability, and that's exactly what that is, it's availability. So when we write a letter and I say, hey, you have this project is contingent on availability. So that's pretty much written in with the EDUs when they write them. We're going to be able to supply this. We will be able to. I write a letter saying we will be able to supply this upon guaranteed the availability is there, and that's where those EDUs are. So we'll be able to. You can just keep going, but you might again, just like what you said. If we hit that, I don't think we're going to hit that phosphorus, but if we hit that before our well gets on, just at the rate we're looking at, we're only projecting at the most. We would say that the council meeting the other day, 200. I mean, 100 and between 150 and 200 permits a year.
Right.
So. The worst, so that's where we kind of are with those.
Okay.
And like I do have, you're doing that one list, so as building permits come in, like I got 3 today, so for examples, if our morning view, I got 3 today, well, now I take my little list and I move those 3 ADUs from my reserve pocket, and put them into, they are being used now. So that's where we kind of are with them.
Nancy?
I have 2 questions, Rich. I'm clarifying, the 44 left after if it's approved, is that what's available without the new well or with the new well?
That would be without the new well.
Oh, okay,
Put those
'cause
in,
that-
so,
Yeah, okay.
And that 44 does include, just for everybody's understanding, that 44 includes what we have already approved, but is not necessarily actually hooked up based on building permits. So
Right,
it's,
right.
So no final plats is what you're saying.
We probably have over 1,000 EDUs that people can still get a permit from, so.
Okay, my other question is, sorry, Rich. So let's say that we get down to the, we've got 10 left, whatever. What is there a procedure for calling people who have been sitting on those for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and not done anything with them? Is there a procedure in place calling them up and say, what are you doing with this?
So, all conditions on all of your preliminary plats, that's when the race starts. You have a year
Okay.
to get your
I was
final
wondering.
plats done.
Okay,
If you don't get it done, or you don't ask for an extension during that time,
then,
it's done. You have to start all the way from the very get-go. So that's a thing that we're paying attention to. A lot of developments that you have approved for a preliminary plat are coming on that final plat. Final end game, you need to do it now. And then once the final plat's done, we have a much better idea of, okay, final plat's done, and they're going to pull permits. And I only say that is because with the final plat, a lot of times they do infrastructure improvements, like they're already doing curb, gutter, sidewalk. I would say that is a superior indicator of the EDUs that we have available. Because the unfortunate thing is I want Mountain Home to be the place where 100% of dreams come true, but the reality is out of all of the developments that have been approved, some of them may not make it. Funding may be an issue, the environment may change. We don't know that. So when it comes to looking at data, you guys are looking at great data by seeing our availability overall, but then, Rich has it broken down to, we have the preliminary projects, but then we have projects that have done their final plat, and they're in a different one. So it's about looking at every different column, and that's something that we can try to prepare for you in the future of, this is what you have approved preliminarily, this is what we're waiting for final plat or final construction things on, and then this is the amount that people can just pull a building permit tomorrow. So it's important to look at all of those categories because it's complicated.
It's probably the most extensive we've gone into understanding how the EDUs work, so thank you for that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
much better.
Commission, any questions about the request to up the height to 35 feet instead of 30?
No.
Mr. Chairman, the one concern by a citizen about the 3 entrances.
I was gonna bring that up at the preliminary, or the preliminary
Yeah.
plat.
Wrong.
And that's something, it kind of goes
Hand in hand, because it's
Hand in
PUD,
hand.
yeah.
So I can speak to that. So this has, our fire marshal has reviewed it, and so has the police chief. What makes this different than a typical subdivision is this is full of apartments which are sprinklered. And when you have a sprinkler type product, the entrances for fire code are different because they already have that preemptive device for emergencies. Also, they do have a looped turnaround, which goes towards them being able to have that one singular entrance. But the best that I can tell you is that you have rental product with a lot of sprinklers, and sprinklers are awesome. They put out 99.9% of all of your issues, and that it's been reviewed by our emergency personnel.
I have a question. Are the loop that goes around, is that one-way loop or is it two-way? So if you,
It's 2 ways.
it's two ways? Okay.
You can come in and turn whichever way you need to.
Okay.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion for the request to approve rezone 8.39 acres located on the east side of South 5th West Street, south of the West 12th South Street, east of Chucker Circle, to R4 Falcons Landing P planned unit development. Subject to site plan amendments as required by building, public works, fire, zoning officials to comply with applicable city codes and standards. Number 2, all future development will comply with the uses of bulk and coverage controls provided in the attachment number 6 proposed planned unit agreement.
First, I have a second. Second by Billy. Nancy?
Aye.
Billy? Travis?
Aye.
And I as well. So that motion passes. Moving down to our next one, it is the preliminary plat for the Falcons Landing from Leap Housing. A request by Leap Housing for an R4 planned unit development preliminary plat. The parcels of land are located east of South 5th West Street and approximately 279 feet south of West 12th Street. 12th South Street. The proposed Falcons Landing planned unit development will provide 136 units, consisting of 120 multifamily units and 16 single-family attached units. Amenities will include a central community building, barbecue picnic area, playground, sport court, community garden, bike station, and walking path. The plat contains 22 lots consisting of a total of 8.39 acres. Mr. Cherry.
Alrighty. So I can confirm that the preliminary plat is harmonious with what the applicant proposed within their PUD as far as the standards they want to deviate from, and it mirrors one another, which it should do. The beautiful thing about a PUD and also a preliminary plat is there's some discretion when it comes to making changes as long as they are not material. So let's say as we go forward in this and we learn, oh no, we need the trash can to be over here. It can't be over there. We can do those moves. Now if the applicant wanted to take away green space or parking, that's when we would say no, no, no. If you want to do that, you have to amend your PUD and maybe even your preliminary plat. So it gives us the flexibility necessary in order to make minor changes to ensure that it is served by city services, that everyone's needs are met. I don't see any issue with this preliminary plat. Some of the big things that we wanted to ensure were on this plat was this is in the area for the city's master pathways plan, where on the eastern side of South 5th, we're going to have a 10-foot pathway for people to utilize. A lot of people utilize it. We know a lot of people love utilizing it already, and we know as more people come, it's important that we have dedicated pedestrian and also cyclist space. What's really cool about this one is we have Paiute Place, which seems to be happening simultaneously with this development. So at the end of the day, we're going to have one big massive strip of bikeway, and we wanted to ensure that that was indicated with on their preliminary plat. staff at this time, we don't necessarily see any glaring issues, and we're here to answer any questions you may have. Again, we have the applicant here and his design team, and they can speak to the plat as well, but I believe that a lot of conversation pertaining to the preliminary plat kind of happened with the PUD as well, so.
Can you put the plat up there for me? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
Commissioners, one thing, kind of touching on the access with this one. What's kind of hard with an infill project like this kind of really is how much land, you can kind of get it in a chunk to do something. If you were to put 2 roads in here, it really doesn't line up, since Fifth is an artery, there is a collector, excuse me, we've tried to limit how much is coming in and off of that, and just having roads all over coming in and off. So there was really no way to line something up across the way with this one, and so those are some of the discussions that we had with developing this piece of property with them, and also Brock was right on with the sprinklers. So
Yeah, it definitely helps.
a couple things. So if this was like, and Ms. Pierce is right. I mean, if this was like a big open piece of land, like Morning View or Silverstone or some of those, we would make sure that they have that many accesses to come in and out. So those are some things we really pay attention to with the fire, and they do that. So.
Okay.
So just,
I have one question, and this is just more for me and understanding. So in the middle right there, on the sides, where do no, go in the middle? Dead middle. Now go up. What's that area?
Garden area.
Ah, okay. So like planter boxes and stuff like that? Oh, cool, okay.
So tenants can do their own gardens, grow vegetables and stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, I was looking at that and I'm like, what is that? That's a lot of barbecue pits.
mini houses.
Yeah, right.
Very cool. So kind of like a community garden in a way then. Awesome, very cool, okay.
Allotments.
Commissioner, before we actually go into it, I do need to open it up for a public hearing.
I seen in their, Misty Pierce again, in their comparison of jobs in the area, would these possibly, and this is a question for them, but I know I have to direct you.
Thank you.
Would these possibly help those who are working at Burger King, McDonald's, who are living at home but cannot afford rent because the apartments, or there's no rent, or any place to rent? I noticed that the lowest paying job was like $12 an hour. I personally don't know what some of the jobs are paying. I'm retired. So I'm just curious if that's going to help some of these kids and maybe later early 20s, later, that don't have children, get out of mom and dad's house so mom and dad can have an empty nest again. I was just curious about that. Thank you.
I saw some heads go yes back there, but we'll ask that question for sure. Absolutely. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing for that. Real quick, it has been really nice to see the amount of support for this developmental project, to be honest. It's really hard when a lot of times we have developments come through and there are people on saying no and this, and it's been quite a breath of fresh air to see all the amount of positive support for what you guys are presenting, to be honest with you. So I'll address you now for that. The question, is this kind of housing going to help those people that are in their late teens, early mid-20s to be able to afford something?
I think I can answer that. We consider it, we call it full spectrum housing, and meaning that we have deeply subsidized housing all the way to market rate. So I think maybe it speaks to probably the lowest. We have a handful of 30% of area median income units in there. 30% of area median income for a household of 4, and Elmore County would be $17,850 a year. It's about $9 an hour. So
wow. Okay.
I think that I think Burger King's paying more than $9 an hour right now. So that would be the lowest skew. There's a handful of units set aside, then all the way up to market rate. So.
Okay. Commission.
Chairman, I got a few questions just about the plot here. You know what, I may not be looking at it right, my eyes aren't the best, but I'm trying to see where some of the runoff or drainage is going to be. Is this all guttered and ran into our freshwater sewage, or?
There's seepage beds on the plat.
Can you point them out for me?
If you look at, go to the next slide, Brock.
couple different versions.
Those dark areas right there would be all the different ones. They're like in the parking areas.
Yeah, I see them now.
They'll put some construction area or well, we're going seepage beds, but it'll be underneath the asphalt, so kind of everything's gonna collect and be underneath. So that's what I'm thinking, looking how the plans work. Won't be grates, but they'll be just like having a catch basin that drops in it, but it spreads out underneath the whole thing. So.
Okay. And I might be looking at this wrong as well, if I can get another one in here. Are there only four dumpsters in the entire plot? Or 136 units? I might be looking at this incorrectly. Like I said, I can't read.
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Agnes, what has been given to us on the site plan is we can see that we have at the moment 4 dumpsters. I don't know if for the single family residences, if they're going to be having their own rollouts. That's certainly something to discuss. But you are correct, or unless the applicant can point out more places of refuse.
That's a little concerning for me, just for 120 homes being all apartments. I guess the size of the dumpster may matter, but that's a lot of trash going out. Is there any chance that we would be able to put more in if that were the case on the front of plat? Just more of a question than a request.
Yeah, we could double load where they're at. Plus, we have all that open space, like by the community building. It's close enough, but we can definitely design that to fit what the requirements are.
Okay.
So I saw in your landscaping turf. Is that what you're planning, is turf?
Right now, yes.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, grass.
Grass.
Yeah, sorry, in case you were.
Yeah, what, so,
Mix up, somebody was asking if we were putting in synthetic.
synthetic, no, so it was turf. What kind are, just out of curiosity, because we want zero scape, right, to the best of our abilities. So what are you landscaping plans for water?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the landscaping overall, it's sort of a policy of ours to do the xeriscaping throughout. We would use a native fescue grass for the turf areas, so they would be more in line with what would grow here naturally. But a lot of the areas, there's going to be a mixture of the trees, ornamental grasses, and other low drought tolerant.
Okay, thank you.
Did I answer your, I didn't mean to jump in and answer your question about the seepage beds, but that's what that
Yes,
was, right?
yes.
Okay. So I've read the plan, so I knew that's what it was. So I was just,
Our commission, it's up to you.
I have one more question. Who plans to upkeep the entire facility as far as mowing the grass to, in general? Trimming the
We'll have
trees?
property management for
Okay.
the multifamily units. The single family, they'll maintain their own because those will be home ownership, so they'll be required to maintain those. But the multifamily units, the rental units, will have a property manager and a maintenance person on site.
Will the single-family homes include an HOA?
It's similar to that. We have CCNRs that go with our properties that we dictate what can and cannot be done, and they have to get approval to do things on the site. So it's similar to the HOA, we just don't go to the HOA fact.
So would they have to, if I'm thinking what you're thinking, so since the community apartment's gonna have the amenities, would the single-family home would have to contribute to the upkeep of, like, the different recreational fields, basketball courts and those type of things, or would
The
that?
apartments don't pay for those amenities as far as per se unit, it's just the overall operating cost to
Right.
maintain all of those, and the single family will be able to enjoy those as well.
But would they have to be charged, I guess what I'm getting at, it's inferred in the cost of the apartment for the rent, but for the single-family homes, would they have to pay to maintain that, or that just part of the?
For the CCNRs, we would have a fee that they pay monthly. for the
Okay.
maintenance.
And I only ask because some of your guys' presentation revolved around income and rent, so that type of question typically isn't asked on that, but if you revolved it around it, I found it appropriate to at least ask, so. That's all right.
Okay. Looking for a motion. Well, Travis has been on fire tonight.
I know.
So,
Nancy's turn, isn't it?
Right. Mr. Chairman,
Nancy.
I would move that the commission recommends to the city council to approve the following. Falcon's Landing preliminary plat consisting of 8.39 acres located on the east side of South 5th West Street, south of West 12th South Street, and east of Chucker Circle. Subject to site plan amendments as required by building, public works, fire, and zoning officials to comply with applicable city codes and standards. The final plat and all future development will comply with the uses and bulk and coverage controls provided in attachment number 2, proposed planned unit agreement. Before a final plat is recorded, the applicant shall receive all necessary approvals regarding water and sewer infrastructure from the Central Health District. Per City Code 9-16-10J, failure to file and obtain the certification of the acceptance of the final plat application by the administrator within 1 year after action by the commission shall cause all approvals of said preliminary plat to be null and void unless, a 1-year extension of time is applied for 30 days before the expiration by the subdivider and granted by the commission. A preliminary plat may be extended one time only, after which it shall be deemed null and void.
Okay, first by Nancy.
Second.
Second by Billy. Travis.
All right.
Billy. Nancy?
Aye.
An aye for me as well. Motion passes. Looking forward to seeing it. So, thank you so much. All right, Commission, we moved that first one down to the last one. Is Miss Jessica here?
Mr. Chair, Yep.
You're fine. Well, that's okay. No, you're good. Don't worry, we're fine.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Well put together.
Yes, thank you.
Pleasure to watch.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I cannot see Ms. Strick in the audience.
Okay.
It would be staff recommendation that we table her item until the next regularly scheduled planning and zoning meeting, which I believe is on the May 2nd.
Okay. So, Commission, that means that at the request of staff that we table the zoning title amendment for the mobile food concession yards from Jessica Schick to our next meeting, which is May 2nd. I will need a motion to do such.
I make a motion
Okay.
that we table.
Okay, first by Nancy, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Travis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that item will be tabled until our next meeting. Moving down our list, we have a couple of old businesses that we need to take care of. Not just a couple, we have a lot of old businesses we need to take care of. So here, these are the findings of facts. We just need to vote on the approval of the findings of facts. So, starting with our first one here, recommendation for the comprehensive plan amendment impact fee applicant, City of Mountain Home, comprehensive plan amendment, City of Mountain Home of Idaho, the addition of the City of Mountain Home Police, Fire, Parks, Streets, Departments, impact fee studies, and capital improvement plans as Appendix 10. According to the findings of facts, it was voted on by the Commission over 3-2 to deny the request.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the finding of fact for to repeal and replace the Mount Home City Code Title 9 Land Usage, Chapter 4 Development Impact Fees, PZ-21-71.
Okay, first, second?
Second.
Second by Nancy. Travis?
Aye.
Billy? Nancy?
Aye.
And I as well. Moving on to the next, so Brock, this next one, because this one, do we still need to approve this one even though that one was denied? Or is that kind of mixed in?
It is sort of mixed in.
Okay.
I would just go through the same process.
Okay, let's do that. Recommendation of impact fee applicant, City of Mountain Home zoning title amendment, the City of Mountain Home City Code by repealing and replacing the Mountain Home City Code Title 9 Land Use and Development, Chapter 4 Development Impact Fees.
I must be missing it as well. I'm not sure if
So,
I
I
left
mean,
everything on my desk
It's
here.
made note within the findings of fact that this body chose to table the item until
So,
the
These two are
Oh,
here.
okay. So that bring, so
Yeah.
we need to do another improvement on this then?
That's, well, yeah, so we're gonna approve it, just, you know,
Okay, so,
cover all our bases.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve. this-
Findings of
what was that?
facts.
Finding of fact,
For the zoning title
okay,
amendment.
thank you for
I'm here to help. I'm here to help.
Let me start over. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the finding of fact for zoning title amendment, repeal and replace Mount Home City Code Title 9 Land Use Development, Chapter 4 Development Impact Fees, PZ-21-71.
Okay, second by, first by Billy, second.
Second.
Nancy. Travis?
Aye.
Billy?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
As well. Our next one, we have the recommendation for the annex and zone for the applicant of Thompson and Quall. A request by Casey Thompson, Brianna Thompson, and Jennifer Quall to annex and zone the R4 residential parcel of land located east of Jerome Street, south of Colthorpe Avenue, and west of Garrett Street. The annexation also includes the entirety of Jerome Street, Colthorpe Avenue, and Garrett Street that fronts the parcel of land.
Mr. Chair.
Sir?
Sorry to interrupt, but I believe the findings of fact for that one, I also had PZ 2234 in there and also PZ 2229.
So you combined all three of them?
I believe I did.
Yeah, 22. So,
That one?
I'll approve these.
No,
This one, right here, I think, isn't it?
Oh, yes, okay, I see it. All right, yep.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make can I do it all three at one time? Because I didn't do it separately.
You can do all three at the same time.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve finding of fact for PZ-22-29, PZ-22-30, and PZ-22-34.
Okay, first by Billy,
Second.
second by Travis. Nancy?
Aye.
Billy? Travis?
Aye.
Aye for me as well. All right, a recommendation for conditional use permit for a drive-through, again, from the applicant of Thompson and Quall. Request by Casey Thompson, Brianna Thompson, and Jennifer Quall to obtain a conditional use permit for a drive-up window for a coffee shop located on Airbase Road. The parcel is located at the corner of Airbase Road and Garrett Street.
Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, rather. I'd like to make a motion to approve finding of fact for Casey Thompson,
Thompson.
thank you. PZ-22-31.
First by Billy,
Second.
second by Travis. Nancy?
Aye.
Billy?
Aye.
Travis?
Aye.
Aye as well. Okay. Moving down our items, department head items, mental building, any questions about the permit report and code enforcement report? Seeing none, items requested by the commissioner staff is none. I'm happy to say we are adjourned at 7:13.